In this lecture, I'm going to show you how to configure local authentication on a Cisco device. So in this example, I'm going to use router 1 and configure local authentication. Router 1 currently has no enabled password. So what local authentication does is it creates a user account locally on the network device, and that's what's used for authenticating someone who's going to sign on. In this example, I'm going to use a telnet session from this host, and I'm going to telnet to router 1 and use the local authentication for my security credentials. I'm also going to configure the console port to do the same thing and use local authentication. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with router 1, and as mentioned, there's no enabled password. I'm going to use local authentication instead. So I'm going to configure terminal. The first thing I'm going to do is start with the VTY lines, and I use the default 0 through 4. And I'm only going to use one command, login local. Local stands for local authentication. I don't have to do anything else, no passwords. I could use an exec timeout, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to use login local, and that tells the VTY lines I'm going to authenticate using security credentials locally on the network device with local authentication. So I'm just going to go exit now. The next command I'm going to use is service password encryption. And that's necessary because the next command I'm going to issue is going to be the actual account command, the username command and password. And if I don't use service password encryption, the password will be readable in the configuration script. So I have to use that. I have to enable password encryption. So the next command, and it's a global command as well, will be the actual account. I'm going to give it a name admin. Admin is just a name. It doesn't mean there's any specific privilege level unless I assign it. So I'm going to assign it privilege level 15. And that's the highest level on a Cisco device. 1 is the lowest. So privilege 15 is what I'm going to assign to that account. And I'm going to use a password CCNA labs. And there's the password. So that effectively creates the account. Next thing I want to do is I want to do the console port as well. So I'm going to go line con 0. And I want so when I sign on through a laptop to the console port, I want to use local authentication as well, that same account. So it's just login local. And that's all there is to it. So that account's been created. Now I'm going to go to host, and I'm going to start a telnet session. So I'm going to telnet. And with telnet, I can use any active IP address that's on the network interface on the router 1. So I'll use 12 for example. 00 is 12. There it is there. So that will do fine for running a telnet session. So there it is. I'm going to use username admin and password CCNA labs. Now I'm authenticated to router 1. I can do show run. And everything's fine there. So local authentication is verified. Now I'm going to go to router 1. I'm just going to exit the session here so the laptop can verify and can sign on. So we'll go to laptop this time. And I'm going to go to a terminal session and just verify everything's okay there. Those are the default settings for Cisco terminal session. Click on OK, and it's asking me for admin again. So this time there's no password on the there's no local password on the console. This is using local authentication with that account I created, the admin account. And there it is there. So I'm on router 1 now from the laptop. And there's the command there, and the password is not readable in the configuration script. And that's as a result of service password encryption being enabled. And that concludes local authentication.